public here is here to observe the process. Public comment is limited to the times allowed for that, and no comments will be taken at any other time. Please respect the rights of others to speak and the council to govern. And I also request that you mute your cell phones if you haven't done that already. Jackie, will you call the roll?
Mayor Wilson.
Here.
Councilor Hadley.
Here.
Councilor Whitney. Here. Councilor Borkum.
Here.
Councilor Barrenwood.
Here.
Councilor Hollett.
Here.
Councilor Maxfield. Here.
Thank you. Additions, corrections, and adjustments to the agenda. I have a few, and I know city administrator does too, so you go first?
Sure, I have two, one under the city administrator's report, it's the budget calendar that we'll be distributing to council tonight. And the second one is under the city reporter finance report, and it's about distribution of RTMP funds.
So 9.6 is the budget calendar, and 9.7 will be the RTMP distribution. Does council have any adjustments or changes or corrections to the agenda? Okay, just wanna let the public know that we are having an executive session later. We, council and mayor, will be adjourning to the next room. You're welcome to stay here while we do that. That's a little bit different than we've done before, so just so that you're aware. We're gonna also do public comment at one time here this evening, rather than have two sessions, one in the morning, one in the beginning and one at the end. So I'm just gonna combine those two right now. Because of our executive session, we wanna kind of move through things as quickly and as efficiently as we possibly can. So let's start, I'm gonna start with Kristen Casada. Is that how we say that, Kristen?
Casada.
Casada, thank you.
So I haven't been to a meeting in a really long time, and
Don't be
kind
nervous.
of nervous, but I'm here to ask for permission to maybe use William Activity Center softball field for a recreational league that we're trying to get started. There's about 78 community members that are interested in playing, and before we've got any practices or games on the schedule, we want to come and see about using the field here first.
And how frequently do you think you'll be using it?
I think right now we're talking about doing a practice like every 2 weeks on Thursdays, possibly like 6:30, 7 o'clock, and then games on Sundays in the afternoon. And we would work around like high school softball girls' schedules and
Okay.
things like that.
Okay, so you are aware of the fact that is an issue?
Yeah.
Okay, so, we typically, take requests in and then put them on the agenda, but I know I saw that you had a
Yeah.
request here and you wanted to get going on it. So, I think what we'll do is, if you won't mind, and if council agrees that this is something you would like to allow to have happen, that we can I can get together with you, or the CAA or staff can get together with you and look at the dates and check the calendars and then move forward. We're also, because I knew you had this request, checking with our insurance to make sure that that's all covered and everything's all good.
Yeah.
So thank you for making the request. And Bobby?
We have an MOU with the school district on that also, so maybe.
Okay, thank you.
Look at that MOU.
Wonderful. That's good. We'll take a look at that also. Thank you for
Okay.
coming forward, and I will get back to you as quickly as we can, because I know you want to practice next week.
We haven't set any times, but
Okay.
we're hoping as soon as possible, yeah.
Okay, that sounds good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. And Denise Waldrick? Hi, Denise.
I'm a resident and live up on Mountain View. Been here about 3 years, but my husband grew up in the community. My dad lived here back in the logging heydays, and I've had a long connection here. I got disabled back in 2010, and we lived up in Portland, and occurrences from our family, we decided we wanted to move back home and closer to family and people back here. And despite our disabilities, we thought this would be a good place to bring our family in to be, even though we understood the risk of ambulances and stuff like that. My husband's uncle was a firefighter or a EMT here as well as his mother, so we knew how the fire department worked, but we thought we'd be able to access medical care at least in a reasonable amount of time. So when a couple months ago, my 18-month-old had a grand mal seizure in my arms and was completely unresponsive, stopped breathing, turned blue. I actually called from the neighbor's house and stood outside of the neighbor's house for a while waiting for the ambulance, and I laugh at that walked into my house, yelled for my husband, screamed for him outside our house, but he came out. He came out, and we drove to the fire station, and then we sat there and waited, and waited, and waited, and called, and didn't get through well. And it's been really traumatic for our family. We are leaving Oak Ridge because of it. We went to Utah for 10 days to look, and the elevation isn't good for our health issues, so we're looking at Arizona now. And it's pretty disappointing too, because I even met with the school district this week about special needs program, and I actually feel like they can educate my children despite the fact that I have 4 disabled autistic children. And I actually was comfortable with the program for the first time in any of the 3 years I've met with them, and I felt like they could actually handle it, and the things that they were making were great. But I can't risk my children's and my life by living rurally because I want to live rurally. But it's sad, because we lived in Portland, we lived in Eugene. This community embodies a lot of our values and the things that are important to us. And that's the reason why we're not moving anywhere else in Oregon. It was Oak Ridge or die in Oregon. And so we're leaving. And it's really sad for us because we have friends here and people care about it. We're leaving his grandparents that are elderly and ill in the San Creek Park. And I'm like, hope you don't cut it someday when we're not here to help you show up, because we're the only people you have to call in town, even though we're all the way at Mountain View. And I love what you said about giving the council the respect to govern in the beginning, because I feel like this is a failure in government. Because I was reading Register Guard articles from a year ago about the corruption that was going to cause this problem. Clearly, everyone in this community is aware of the problem. So only corruption, which is illegal, I looked into it. It is illegal to do corruption, and the laws around corruption are very clear. And we're considering consulting an attorney if this community doesn't do the right thing, because I don't want to hurt this community at all. But if the government that we're giving the respect to govern is hurting the community, then yeah, I'm gonna slam it to you, because my family is leaving traumatized over this. It's not okay, it's illegal. And this community needs to care, and there's people in this community that do care. And it's the flaw of government that's stopping those people that care from doing something about it. And I wish that we as a community could actually come together and fix it finally. Thank you guys.
Thank you. And we also have Dan Bark.
Just for clarification before we start the egg timer,
I thought it was
Well-
good.
will there be any latitude since we added an agenda item after the sign-up sheets were collected?
No.
So, right. Just, for starters, I'm not naive enough to think that there aren't people in the city of Oak Ridge that think Dan Barkley's anti-chamber, anti-mountain biking, or whatever. I would challenge any of those people in this room, anywhere, to show an example. So in the absence of that example, I'm not gonna spend a lot of time being concerned about what misinformed people think. Back in its heyday, Chamber had 84 members, $25,000 budget, largely reliant on a $10,000 pass-through of TRT funds, and 11 board members. Oak Ridge has 7 board of directors. Westford has 12. And the chamber, a group of 30, needs 10. When you got, 3,500 or so. In 2014, the former executive director resigned, and that membership dropped. The budget on the 2019 site shows $4,700 total revenue, which does not reflect the RTMP or the proceeds from the side-by-side, which would be probably about $3,000 or $4,000. In a 2017 budget on the website. And, bear in mind, me explaining room tax from the standpoint of somebody actually taking the energy to generate goods and services that produce those to somebody that participates in the administrative distribution of those proceeds would be like Chrissy explaining childbirth to me in a way that I would understand the pain. Can't happen. For me, $10,000, $2.5 million that me and every other collector in Lane County has to generate those goods and services to generate that $10,000 if somebody fills out an application or, you know, applies to council to get the money. 2.5 million, that's a lot of work. And, you know, to me, or 18,000 plus, 4.5 million, great. Luckily, I got some help with that one. And it's my duty to collect those taxes and send them off to Lane County. For my time, I send the room tax, the 8% I collect, plus 5% on the amount collected, not 5% on the total, 5% of the amount collected. I have to, for me to get $100, okay, for me to get $100, I have to generate $25,000 in goods. Multiply that out by 2,900 or 10,000 or 18,000. It's a lot of work. So yeah, my concern might be a little bit more
So Dan,
vested.
but I would like you to sum up what you're asking.
Do your research, do your homework, know what you're talking about before you make a decision that distributes the benefit from the labors of a few people. It's not murals on a building, you know, it's not billboards diverting them from where 80% of the facilities collect room taxes. Spend them in a way that benefits the city. And promoting tourism, show me the numbers. Show me the data,
Thank you, Dan.
because I guarantee you don't have it.
So we're at mayor's council, comments, announcements, and proclamations. I have a letter that I am reading at the request of Melody Cornelius, who sent me an email on April 10th. She asked me to read this out loud to the community. Dear Westford Oak Ridge community, I would like to express my sincere gratitude for the continued love and generous support extended to me and my family during this most difficult time. Losing my husband, my children's dad, so suddenly at age 43 has been a devastation beyond words. I can fully appreciate that I am not alone in this loss, as the community grieves along with me and my boys. I'd like to acknowledge the EMT crew and Officer Davidson, who were on the scene March 26th. They worked diligently and professionally, making every effort to save Larry's life. I wish to extend my thanks to Scott Hollick for talking gently and personally to me about what was happening, and to Chrissy Hollick for her emotional support that night. We are so lucky to have this couple in our community, devoting so much of their time and energy toward public service. Our small cities with big hearts, I am beholden and grateful to you, and so very proud to call Westford home and Oak Ridge Remember. Most sincerely, Melody Cornelius. I also wish to acknowledge that I received a petition signed by quite a few members of the community. I believe each of the councilors got a copy of this, stating we, the people who signed this as a group, want you to know we support the changes made at the fire department to ensure the safety of employees, volunteers, and citizens. We support the changes were needed for many years under his leadership. They have been made. Ambulances are staffed and supported, which addressed a long-time safety and service issue. As of July 1st, 2018, the department no longer calls on the resources of the police department to drive ambulances due to lack of volunteers. Employees no longer report to work and find themselves alone without backup, unsure of their ability to quickly provide critical help to our citizens. Training is improving. Standards in training that protect the city and ensure the safety of employees, volunteers, and the citizens they serve have been set and are met by all those who choose to serve. New volunteers are joining, and the number of volunteers responding to calls is growing. Respect is being restored within the department, and we ask you to stay the course. This is always on file if you want to look to see the signatures on it, and I believe each counselor has received a copy of it also. Moving on to this consent agenda, we have 4 minutes that need to be corrected. Chrissy, or Councilor Hollett, sent by email some corrections this afternoon that she would like to see done, and those will be integrated into it. Are there any other corrections that were noticed or would like to be pointed out by council in any of those 4 minutes? If there aren't, May I have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the minutes for March 14th, March 18th, March 21st, April 4th.
Bobby seconded. Call for a vote, please.
Mayor Holston,
Aye.
Councilor Holcomb,
Aye.
Councilor Whitney,
Aye.
Councilor Barenboim,
Aye.
Councilor Hadley,
Aye.
Councilor Holland.
Aye.
Councilor Maxfield.
Aye.
Thank you, council. Business from the city council. So agenda item 8.1, agenda for the city council retreat. We received an agenda already, and you've gotten that. I know that you've heard or read communication from LSC, who is giving the retreat, so you know what they asked of you, and you sent answers to them, I hope. Just reminding you all to be there at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. 12 o'clock, there will be a lunch and an hour break provided. We hope to be done by 5. In fact, we will be done by 5. This meeting is open to the public. Lunch is going to be provided for council and for the participants and staff, but not for the viewing public. So I'm just letting you all know that I'm not feeding it. So, so we'll see everyone at 8 at Green Waters. Committee reports. Let's see, the admin committee has chosen to begin to meet every third Tuesday of the month. Is that correct?
For Tuesday.
Every third Tuesday of the month at 8 a.m. will be their regular meeting. It will be on the calendar. And we had our first meeting. Tricia, did you want to say anything about it at this point?
Kind of losing my voice.
Oh, no.
I would just say that, you know, I feel like we're starting off really well, and that we had our second meeting, and yeah, that's all I've got for now.
Okay, thank you.
My voice.
The RTMP committee, they met. You'll be hearing about that in a little bit. The committee also determined the distribution. We'll hear about that. We also recognized that there was a desire to revisit the process that we used, and so they are requesting from council approval to continue to have conversations about that and meet with a goal to having something to present to council no later than this September. Is that, can I get a consensus from council that you would like them to pursue that? I see nodding heads. Mr. Hadley?
Yeah.
Yes?
For what? The RMT?
For the RTMP committee to continue meeting throughout the summer. They would like to see if there was a better way to do it and give recommendations to
Yeah, I
council.
think they need to be a bit.
Okay, all right, so please note that there was a consensus of the council for the RTMP committee to continue to meet. Thank you. Let's see, anything else? ODAC meets every last Tuesday of the month at 4 o'clock p.m. Chrissy has begun, or Councilor Hollett has begun attending that. Thank you very much for doing that. Councilor Hollett has also been attending the budget meetings for El Rapa, which I'm sure are stimulating.
Oh, yeah.
And so my sincere gratitude to her for doing that. And is there any council comments that we can include at this time? Tricia?
I mean, I think that as a council, we need to be looking at how our committees are structured, because I know that in some committees we have counselors that are the chair, and then in other committees we have staff that are the chair. So for me, I think moving forward, maybe we'll have to revisit this conversation.
Okay. Good, so maybe that's a discussion that we can have sometime this summer at a work session and really kind of get some consistency to that and see what makes sense.
Yeah.
I'll put that on the list for future work sessions. Thank you. Oh, hold on, I can't talk and write at the same time. Business from the city administrator.
First item I have is a request from the Oak Ridge Westford Chamber of Commerce. This was included in your packet. They are requesting $10,000 for partial funding of the executive director position, and there is a letter of request attached. And the options are to direct staff to prepare a report to evaluate this and bring it back for potential impact on the TRT allocations. We would incorporate that into the 1920 budget process.
I'd like to say something about that. Reading the flyer, I noticed they already put the job for the person in there, but yet they haven't even got the okay.
Well, I think they don't need an okay to post it, what they're asking for is money to pay for it.
Right, but just like Dan said, I understand that situation, and that's not a good situation, as many years as I've been here.
So what you're saying is that you would not support,
That's the $10,000,
that request?
because of the way it's been done.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
I just have a couple questions. I'm not sure if we could address it to, the folks who are on, the chamber. But I'm just curious, like, what the total budget for that position is, how many hours per month the executive director would be working. And then I did notice that there was gonna be grant writing, for the goals of the chamber, so I would like to see what the goals of the chamber are. And then, I'm curious if it's foreseeable to be able to stabilize that position with grants, and who's doing the hiring process. It's a lot of questions, but.
No, they're good, and they're very good
Yeah.
questions, thank you, thank you. This is something that, you know, we can formulate these questions and then ask staff to get the answers to those.
Yeah.
Or we can ask that the chamber, come and talk to us at our next meeting, about their request, it'd be a combination of both. So I think council, it sounds like, or looks like, council would like, first of all, more information.
Yep.
And, second of all, to push it to the next meeting and invite council or chamber to come and talk to us about what their request is so that we can ask further questions.
What the
And do
benefits
that.
are,
I'm sorry,
what the benefits are for the community.
okay, yeah, I agree. So would someone like to make a motion to direct,
I make a
our
motion,
staff?
I make a motion that we direct staff and the chambers, chambers,
You can direct staff and ask the chamber.
in combination with the chambers to bring back more information, I can list out all the information.
We can just put more in here.
Send a bullet point list,
Yeah.
to the next meeting so that we can discuss this further.
Any further discussion from council? Call for a vote, please, when you're ready. You're writing the application.
Counselor Hall,
Aye.
Counselor Maxfield,
Hi.
Counselor Borkum,
Aye.
Mayor Holston,
Aye.
Counselor Barrymore,
Aye.
Counselor Whitney,
Aye.
Counselor Hadley,
Aye.
Passes. 9.1.2, proposed recruitment process for city administration.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to explain that you had this item in your original packet that went out on Friday, but because we met with the Administrative Services Committee, after that packet went out, it's been revised and, changed a bit. It's essentially similar, but, I actually think it's more streamlined and a little clearer. So I'm gonna just walk through it, and then if you have any questions, you know, we can take it from there. So I wanted to talk first about, well, I wanted to let you know that the position did close, on Monday, and we received 16 applications. And then I wanted to go over the goals of what the recruitment for this position are. The first one, to conduct a neutral, legal, and ethical process. The second, to provide opportunities for the community and staff, and to participate and provide feedback to the mayor and to mayor and council for their consideration. The third, to maintain confidentiality throughout the process until the finalist stage. And the fourth, to hire an administrator that can help move the community forward. So the proposal in front of you, the first step would be screening of the applications. And the proposal is to have Lane Council of Governments do the initial screening. They're very experienced in this area. They're a very neutral party. The screening would be done based on requirements of the position and qualifications. And I've attached in attachment A, a list of what those screening criteria are. If you wanted to take a look at that. Now, the first is around education. So many points for a bachelor's degree, additional points for a bachelor's in public administration or a related field, and then additional points for an advanced degree in a related field. Experience and the bachelor's degree is the minimum. Experience in public administration, 5 years experience, also the minimum. Progressively responsible in a public agency, doesn't define what kind of public agency it is. Then more points, of course, for experience at a senior management level in a public agency. And then additional points for 5 or more years at the senior management level, specifically in a city or county. And then in areas of skill and experience, there is a list there. This was taken, a lot of this was taken from the posting itself and just the requirements of the job. Again, a couple of points, 2 points for minimal experience, 4 for substantial, and 6 for extensive in each of those categories. And then at the end, up to 10 additional points for an overall presentation, writing skills, effective cover letter, resume, and other relevant information. You may want to know how the points were established, and as we talked about it in the administrative committee, it adds up to 100. So if someone gets a perfect score in everything, they would have 100 points. And it's just easier than to, it's almost like we think of those things in terms of like grades. You get 100%, you get an A++. And then of course, any veterans points would be added on top of that at that stage in the process. So, let me go on and then ask questions. I'm looking. So the second step would be that the council would then review the LCOG screening. They would review the results of the screening and approve the top 5 candidates. We would be asking LCOG to send us the top 5 candidates from their screening. This would be in an executive session. Step 3 would be an interview process for those qualified candidates. And the initial interview would be probably Skype, but I said it could be either phone or Skype, with the goal of getting to 2 or 3 finalists. That's not a public process, it's an interview process. The second part would be an interview panel, or could be referred to as the hiring committee, made up of a subcommittee of council, some community members, and staff. The hiring committee could consist of the mayor, the police chief, the city recorder, a counselor appointed by the mayor, a citizen education rep, a citizen business rep, and a citizen past elected official rep. That hiring committee that did the Skype interviews would then take the top 2 or 3 candidates, hopefully we have top 2 or 3 candidates from that process, and then we would arrange for the next round of interviews for the finalists. And at this point, you would probably be bringing people in if they're from out of the area. The finalist process would be a meet and greet breakfast with the community. Community members can provide feedback. We would provide little comment cards, and after they had an opportunity to just, chat with the candidates, they could provide feedback. All of that would go back to the council and mayor. An interview with department heads and community members, a tour of the community and city operations with community members and staff. And then staff will provide that feedback on candidates to the mayor. And the mayor will then provide that feedback to council. Then there would be a final interview with the mayor and the full council. This can be a standard interview, or it could be an interview and a presentation on a topic determined by council. That would be an executive session. Then the mayor would make a recommendation to council on a final candidate. That would be in a public meeting. The council would vote on the mayor's recommendation. That would also be a public meeting. And then you would go into reference checks and preparation of an offer if there was a successful candidate. So the next steps would be to have LCOG screen the applications. They're ready to go. Establish a hiring committee, and then the mayor and council identify, and this was asked before, and I know some of you have provided, 1 or 2 community members that you would like to see involved in the process. And if you look at this, there are a lot of opportunities for us to plug those community members in. I mean, they can go on tour, they can be at the meet and greet, some will be on the interview committee. I think it's really, really important, especially just with what's been going on in this community, that this is really something that everybody has an opportunity to participate in. I think it's a very important position. So with that, I'll answer any questions you may have, comments.
All right, so I know I was a part of the admin committee, but I've reflected on this a little bit more, And I feel like, in a way, council is relinquishing a lot of their control in saying, you know, hey, we'll confirm that these top 5 finalists are great from LCOG. However, I was curious how the school board did it, so I contacted one of the school board members, and they kind of went through a very similar process. However, they had their community subcommittee and their board working hand in hand, so it would almost be as if you would still have your hiring committee, but you would also include the council in that. And then also thinking through how we, so LCOG will present the top 5 to us in an executive session with a narrative of why they chose that, or, you know, obviously they have their scoring guide, but then also a narrative of what made them qualified for those top 5 positions. But then I feel like as a council, we should be able to look at all of those applications to review, and then if there's consensus from the council that they really want to see this one person because they hold really strong values that they feel our community needs, then as a council, if we all have consensus, that we should be able to add them into that. And then from there, step into a hand-in-hand process with the hiring subcommittee and the council. But that's just my reflection. I realize that kind of undoes some of the work that we did as a committee, but, and I don't want to undermine that because we did have really good discussion, but I reflected on it more, and then also looking at the school board's hiring process. They got a really good hire, and I think for us, this is a fresh start, and if we end up having a bad hire, then it reflects on us as a council, you know?
Absolutely. So, so what I hear you saying is what I argued for, right?
Yes.
And then we changed.
Yes.
Okay, this is, the important thing about this is that we all are able to come to a consensus and agree about the process that we want to do this. But it's also very important that we do this in a timely manner. We have our applicants ready, they're ready to go. So I think the first step that we need to give an okay to is to get them off the LCOG and have them come back. And I don't know how long that will take.
I don't think it will take them very long. I think we could get them back within, you know, a week. I think when I spoke to LCOG, they did say that then they would come here. I mean, they would come here so they could talk about the process too, not just give you the scores and the narrative. And you would have an opportunity to see those other applications. I mean, they're not gonna be hidden from you.
So are we under any legal requirement, you know, HR, I guess, Susie, I'm asking you this. If we have a set of criteria that says these are the minimum qualifications, and then we consider someone who doesn't have the minimum qualifications, is that legal?
It could be an issue.
It could be an issue.
What could happen is someone who wasn't chosen, who had that and found, you know what I mean, somehow wanted to see the information, yes, they would definitely have, they could potentially have.
So
a
that's
challenge.
something we need to be aware of. If LCOG strikes because they say they don't meet the minimum qualifications, then indeed they need to be left off of our consideration too.
Thanks.
So, I think that's fair too. So, this was just up for discussion and to provide feedback. Bobby?
Yeah, and I really do like the fact of having LCOG score this. I think it's a really good idea to have somebody that has no pre-existing ideas of Oak Ridge or anything, that just applies the criteria and applies the points based on what they're seeing in the applicants. And you see that in state job applications, federal applications, you know, it just goes to a big bank, gets scored, and then, you know, they pull the applicant list from there. So I think it's a really good idea.
And I would point out that LCOG is providing the service for free.
Yes.
So that's part of our, that is part of the benefits that we get for being members of LCOG. So it won't cost us any money, which is important.
Yes.
So can we, do we have consensus of council to ask them to send them on?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
So when are we gonna revisit this process?
Oh, good point. So we
I
didn't
just-
want to talk about it some
I
more.
want to make one comment. I
Sure.
second both what Bobby, or excuse me, Counselor Whitney and Counselor Maxfield stated on, but I did want to add a little bit more. I really do think there needs to be a little bit more council involvement in this as a whole. I see a little bit of a lack of council, and I really do feel like when it comes to it, it's really our responsibility. I love the community aspect of it, having really strong community support involved in it, but.
My recommendation, I would suggest that we take what we have here, and make your recommendations in writing on it, as far as how you see it could be morphed or massaged or added or adjusted, and turn those into, the city administrator, so that she can look at them and see, what it is that you're indicating. And then perhaps we can, well, let's see, we want to do this as soon as we possibly can.
Only one, and this, I'm not trying to, influence this at all, it's your decision totally. But if you have 6 counselors and a mayor and community members and staff in a Skype interview, I'm not sure how you quite manage that.
So keep that in mind as you think about it.
It doesn't be a deadline that we need or
Well,
Friday.
that would be great. Yeah, that would be.
So by this Friday, that would be tomorrow?
No, 2 minutes,
I
right?
was gonna say, you are really quick. I was impressed.
No, that would be great.
And then I also have one more.
Yes.
So the hiring committee that consists of mayor, police chief, city recorder, council, and so on. I'm curious how, you mentioned that we would be helping to choose, the education representative and the business representative, but what about the past elected officials? Do we have, an influence in who we decide on that? And then I'm also wondering, I mean, I really don't wanna throw this out there, but there's been a lot of contention with one of the staff personnel that are on this list, and I hesitate to put our community in that position because there's obviously been a lot of contention around that issue.
Well, I will address that directly. I think that it's important that council remembers that, an employee is an employee is an employee until they are not an employee. That we are not responsible for, disciplining or praising or adding to or subtracting to from salaries or hiring or firing. Therefore, the positions that our employees hold are important to be considered, and their opinion should be considered in the hiring process.
Absolutely.
So regardless of how a community member may feel or doesn't feel, that is an employee's right to participate in the hiring process.
I guess I'd be curious if we could select that staff member, maybe someone who.
I think each of the staff members hold a position. We're in a small community with a small department, so no, we can't exclude based on the publication.
Yeah, and I think it's so important that each staff person that's going to interact with our city administrator be a piece of this. Because they do understand what their interaction is better than we do.
Well said, Bobby.
Totally agree. I guess I would just be curious what the added value would be for that staff member versus a different staff member.
Because
That's
of,
all I got.
okay, all right, thank you. So, get your changes and or your suggestions on where you would like to see things to, city administrator by next Friday, not this coming Friday. And, we have a consensus to get things off to Elcon when we're going. Okay? So 9.2, city recorder finance report.
Financial reports for in your boxes. The total cash on hand as of the end of March 30th, 2019 was $1,162,680.28. Copy of the LPIP statement and a copy of the first page of the Sizewell Bank general accounts attached to the cash report that was in your box.
And as always, if you have questions about this, I know there's a lot of numbers, a lot of pages, but you should avail yourself of the opportunity to go and ask questions about anything that's there, and it will be readily answered. It's important that you understand what these numbers are. These reports have been requested over many years, and they've gotten added and added and added, and maybe at some point, council, we want to really address what those reports look like. Now is not that time. The next 6 months probably isn't that time, but be thinking about that, so do ask some questions. And we have the emergency services report.
You have your report, I handed it out. for March activity. There was 93 service calls. Of those, 69 were EMS related. 74 of those were within the Oak Ridge area. Of the 69 EMS calls, 41 were required to be transported to a higher level of care, which was about 63%. Year to date, we've had 315 calls, and our volunteers put in 1,579 and a half hours in March.
That's a lot of hours.
It is.
Thank you. Police services report?
Yeah, council, citizens, and mayor, March 2019 report you guys have in front of you there. We had 397 calls for service, which related into 25 major case reports. Sergeant McPherson and I attended Northwest Leadership Seminar and Training. That's supervisor training for us that we have to go to each year. Officer Clevenger and I attended the Oregon Chiefs of Police Law Enforcement Executive Leadership Institute. It's actually a pretty hard training to get into. And James and I both into that, but he got a scholarship for it. It was really good training at the police academy. Most of the officers and staff took anti-bias training and ethics training. These are mandatory trainings that we have to take from the state, and I believe we're above hours on all of those. Sergeant McPherson took crisis management training.
Thank you, Chief. Community services report?
So actually what I have is, we'll move on to 951, because first time I intended for that. Kiwanis Club is requesting a fee waiver for Community Park, Greenwater Park for the annual Easter egg hunt. This will occur April 20th, 2019, from noon.
Sorry.
So, this has been, the waiver's been granted to the Kiwanis Club for a number of years. This is a positive event that benefits the youth of our community.
So do you, all understand what the fee waiver is for? We've gone through these before. Okay, good. I just, we all do. So, I have a motion.
I can get it out. I move we approve the fee waiver for the use of Greenwaters Park by the Oak Ridge Kiwanis Club on April 20th, 2019, from 8 a.m. to noon, and transfer from TRT funds for grounds maintenance.
Second.
Any discussion? Call for a vote?
Counselor Whitney?
Aye.
Counselor Maxfield?
Aye.
Counselor Follett?
Aye.
Counselor Forcom?
Aye.
Mayor Holston?
Aye.
Counselor Hadley?
Aye.
Counselor Barenboim?
Aye.
That passes. 9.5.2, Planning Commission Quarterly Report.
So, first quarter of 2019, the Planning Commission, we had 3 meetings that completed the following. So January, we had a work session. It was basically just a meet and greet. In February, we had a size variance for a manufactured home. In March, we had another work session, which was an introduction of low impact development code amendment recommendations that were made from the U of O a number of years ago. They all center around code amendments based on stormwater management practices and policies.
And I noticed that you're currently reviewing this Oak Ridge land use code with the intent of improving the zoning for tiny homes. So is that something that will eventually come to us?
Absolutely.
Okay. Any questions of him about this? Okay, let's move to 9.5.3. And are you doing that too, Rick?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, thankfully, Mayor Holston brought to my attention that the RTP, the grant cycle, and that is Rural Trails Program. This year is just requesting permission for a letter of intent. The letter of intent is due at the 1st of next month, and at this point, it's nothing more than a letter of intent. I'm recommending that we do it on one aspect of the Oak Ridge Industrial Park connecting trails that we've been working on with National Park Service. Which one that is, with the approval tonight, I'll go back and work with Dan Miller of National Park Service, and he will reroute his efforts into finishing up that program. We'll reroute it to come up with dollar figures, and then we can match those dollar figures to the grant and what we have available for matching funds. So,
So this letter of intent is due actually April 30th.
no, the letter, June, let's see.
The LOI is due, stating that you're going to be
Yes.
submitting
And then
something.
the actual application, I mean, the actual grant application is due
Right.
June 15th.
Right.
But we can't do June 15th if we don't do April 30th.
If we don't do the letter of intent. So that's what we're asking for, is so that we can submit that and then start the process for putting in for the grant. There is no, there is a vote on this.
I have
My apologies. Yes.
So I think obviously in the interest of time, it would be great to have staff write the LOI, but I'm wondering if we could engage our committees more and maybe the Community Services Committee / Parks and Trails and Trees Board could assist in writing that grant, so it's not all on you. I don't know, I'm sure staff has done it in the past, but I really wanna see our committees engaging more.
Well, I think Rick can definitely reach out to that committee and engage them in any way that is necessary. Recognizing though that is a pretty intensive process. Have you written a grant?
Oh, I've written tons of grants, yeah.
So you know how intensive it is.
I do, but if you have a team of people working on it, it is a lot easier.
So, I think that's a great suggestion that we aim to use it, and, not demand it.
Oh, no, I don't mean, it's
Okay,
simply
great.
suggestion.
Can I have a motion? Go ahead, Bob.
I move we direct staff to write a letter of intent to apply for the recreational trails program for trail work to be done on an aspect of the city industrial park connecting trails.
We have a second? Stan, second. Call for a vote. Any further discussion? Call for a vote.
Counselor Barenboim,
Aye.
Mayor Holston,
Aye.
Counselor Corkum,
Aye.
Counselor Holler,
Aye.
Counselor Hadley,
Aye.
Counselor Whitney,
Aye.
Counselor Maxfield,
Aye.
That passes. We'll move to 9.6, which is the budget calendar.
Yep, I'm just gonna hand it out. We will be, I would say we would get this to the budget committee tomorrow, but since we're kind of occupied tomorrow, it will be Monday. And then we will get it posted on the calendar, and off we go with budget.
So let's make sure that you get these dates on here.
Yes.
Council is expected to attend. You are part of the budget committee, because you are elected members. So.
Does the budget committee get, they're gonna send you documents?
Yes, yes, it's in,
So what is the time?
Yeah, the time, there's no times on these, what time, day or?
These right here.
Just show up when you
Well,
want to.
yeah.
They normally start at 6
Yeah,
p.m.
normally they start at 6.
6
That
p.m.
works for, yeah,
Yeah.
that works for you on Tuesdays at 6.
These are all Tuesday dates?
Yes, they're all Tuesday dates. And of course, you know, if you end up, needing more, we'll add more.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you. 9.7 is RTMP distribution.
Oh, sure. Oh, okay, no, that's fine.
The
I'm at the
RTM
end.
committee met, and they did a little bit different allocation. There was one application that rose to the top in that they already have a lot of out-of-state visitors that are coming to come that have purchased tickets. So we know those will be creating some overnight stays. As a result of that, instead of the normal, metrics that we've used, the committee chose to give 15% of the amount received, which was $18,112 to that particular event. And then they took the remainder of it and allocated it out in the metrics that we normally use. There were 7 requests for funding, and there were 6 that were granted. And this ended in a allocation of $2,859 to the Cake and Cast, $1,100 to the Oak Ridge Triple Summit, $2,859 to Concerts in the Park, $5,576 to the bus fare, $2,859 to the Art Council, and $2,859 to the West Fair Tree Planting. The council also had additional conversations, and they have asked that staff take a look at and review some other recommendations that are outside of the RTMP program action, and that will be presented to council at a later date for their consideration.
Point of order, Madam Mayor.
I don't hear you ask points of order from the committee.
I was just trying to stop you from distributing money to an ineligible
Let's go
application.
on, so the next step is,
Like I did last year.
so this is, RTMP is a recommendation to council, and council has the ability to approve this recommendation. So let's have a motion, and then we can have some discussion. No motion? Bobby?
I move that we approve the distribution of RTMP funds as recommended by the RTMP committee.
Do I hear a second? Thank you, Tricia. I heard you squeak down there. Okay, discussion. Bobby?
Is there a way to get a little more information on the applicants?
So this is why it goes to the RTMP committee. The RTMP committee reviews to see if they've met the criteria for RTMP funds. They go through with a checklist of what each applicant has requested, and whether or not it is complete, and compares it to a list that we have of what the purpose of RTMP is for. And so then we basically just go, okay, well, you meet the criteria, you don't meet the criteria. And then at that point, they have a discussion, they apply the formula that we have been using for several years, and then that is what determines what the percentage is for each applicant. So, yes, you could look at all, you have asked your RTMP committee to do this, you've appointed them to do that. It's up to council to decide whether or not you don't wanna fund these, and you would rather take this on yourself to do, given all the other things that you have to do at this point. I would suggest that you think wisely. Go ahead, if you can.
I will say that, we spent quite a bit of time discussing this, and moving forward, we're gonna re-examine the process. But this year, I do feel like, we have to uphold the process that we have had in recent years. But moving forward, I believe as a committee, we will be looking at things a little bit differently. I will say that I'm content with the way things panned out, this go around. I also understand wanting information.
Yeah. Any other discussion? Can we call for a vote?
Councilor Whitney?
Aye.
Mayor Holston?
Aye.
Councilor Vanderpoint?
Aye.
Councilor Maxfield?
Aye.
Councilor Hadley?
No.
Councilor Hollett?
Nay.
Councilor Morcom?
No.
Can you give us the results of the vote?
Thank you, three. Shame on the rest of you.
Please,
Hey, you can't even follow your own guidance.
please refrain. Thank you, Mr. Barkley.
Yeah, I'll read the guidance.
4 ayes and 3 nays. Does it pass? Thank you, council. Let's move on. We have no items removed from the consent agenda. We are gonna move into executive session, ORS 40.225 and ORS 192.660 to H, attorney-client privilege, and to discuss pending and potential litigation.